me in finance, which this girl and numbers, I try my hardest to not practice math in public because it just doesn't work very well for me. But there I was reconciling, the books at the end of every month and trying to figure out where a couple $1,000s were. And I'm like, no, the path between what I would initiate and the to where I would actually affect change was too far for me and too windy. I couldn't do it. I left Hewlett Packard, started my own business, started a startup in the Bay Area, which was Summit Strategy Partners with my then husband. And then we decided that we would close the business down and travel around the world. Got back, and how I bookended my decade of crazy was I decided to become a mother. So I started by jumping out of an airplane. I ended by giving birth. Quite a decade. My 40s, my wheels came off. I literally came undone. I left an A minus B plus marriage because I had a miscarriage and my hormones made me crazy. And I didn't know it at the time. If any of you who are younger and are going through that and you need to talk to someone, reach out. I'm here. I went through it. I know what it feels like. And I threw a perfectly decent marriage. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't have ended it anyway, eventually, but it definitely was the hormones and the miscarriage. How did I handle that? I started martial arts. I needed to kick and punch. I needed to do something to really focus my energy and heal myself because I was so lost. I was in so much pain. I weighed 101 pounds. I was not healthy, and I wasn't being a good mom. I wasn't being a good steward of my son's life at that point in time. And that's when I started martial arts, which is great. I became a 3rd degree black belt in my 40s, and it was really healthy for me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Then my 50s, and I had a great time turning 50. Loved turning 50. It was so much fun. Spent an entire year celebrating my 50th birthday. However, 52, 53, all of a sudden, I'm like looking in the mirror and I'm like, who is that? Like, what is that sag? And where did that line come from? And why am I starting to look like a Shar-Pei puppy? Literally, like rolls and rolls kept coming on my back. And Shar-Pei puppies are so cute. Not so cute on me. Didn't really like it. And I was all of a sudden feeling like I was becoming invisible. And I've lived my life in super bright colors since I can remember. And all of a sudden I was becoming invisible. And I realized that it wasn't society necessarily, although we are not helped by society. Ageism is rampant. Ageism is real. And I'm here to make a difference in change. But I didn't let myself get smaller because I didn't like what I saw. And the more that I didn't like what I saw, the less me I was. The less me I was starting to dim my own light. I would laugh because I'm like, I could go out in my pajamas and nobody would notice. But that wasn't just society. That was also the way I was showing up. I was getting smaller and smaller. At that time, I had a dear friend who lived in San Francisco from my California days. And she was a couple years older. And she and I started talking and lamenting what we felt was occurring to us. I mean, she was a triathlete. She was an adventure racer, had traveled the world as well. We started looking on the internet to see, hey, what information is out there for us? What is going on with this menopause? What is going on with the fact that my parents are aging and I have a teen and I'm stuck in between them, which is called the sandwich generation, which is real. Couldn't find anything that was empowering. Couldn't find anything that I thought was useful. Everything seemed to be targeted to women 35 and below. And hey, I have no issues with my younger sisters. I believe I learn as much from my younger friends as I do from my older friends. But I wanted information that was relevant to me. And everything that I saw basically was, hey, use Botox. Hey, here's some Juvederm. Color your hair. Clearly, ladies, I color my hair. But it's not because the messages have been telling me that. I color my hair because I want to. You have gray hair, More power to you, sister. There's always room at my table, but there has to be room at your table too if I choose to color my hair. And that's my modus operandi. So we decided to fix it. We built Cool Life selfishly for ourselves. Robin didn't make it. She got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer pretty early on in our endeavor. So she ghosted because she had to fight for her life. Sadly, it was just, she couldn't do it. Cancer doesn't care who you are. Cancer doesn't care what kind of person you are or what your plans are. Cancer does whatever it wants to do. And it took Robin. Sorry, I sometimes have trouble with that story. Foolishly, I thought, well, what? I can do this on my own. I'm pretty determined and disciplined, and I have a lot of energy. I don't know what I was thinking. So she and I were working 7 days a week, 12-hour days. How was I going to absorb that extra however many 12 hours a day? I tried. I did. I remember right before I launched the platform, and I launched it on February 14th, 2018, as a gift of love from me to all the women in the world. That was my intention. Leading up to it, and anyone who's launched a business knows that leading up to a launch can be just harrowing. My son came home from school one afternoon. He's like, Mom. I go, I know. I'm in the clothes that I drove you to school in this morning. He goes, no. You're in the clothes you drove me to school in yesterday morning. Maybe you should take a shower. It's bad when your 15-year-old is telling you to take a shower. But I know that anyone who's launched a business or written a book or whatever and has had to meet a deadline can relate to that story. You get so focused, so hyper-focused on meeting your goal that nothing else seems to matter. And I'm very grateful that I had a very supportive family that left me alone, basically, which was good because I wasn't really available to them throughout that time. So we birthed Cool Life. And at the beginning, I was writing every piece of content, which meant I had to research every subject and subjects I didn't know much about, try to go get experts to give me information. That wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work. So I did what any self-respecting MBA student would do. I did data mining or stalking, depending on the way you look at things, looking for women that were writing about topics that I believed would be beneficial and relevant to us in women in midlife and beyond. At the beginning, it was cold calls. I didn't have much to show. The content was super thin. The website, and here's the other thing, the website that was up was a website that I built. And if you're asking yourself, do you have a tech background? Have you done that before? Yeah, no tech background, never done it before. How I did it was a combination of YouTube, Google, and buckets of tears. And ladies, buckets of tears was the heavy part of that recipe, but I got it done. It wasn't elegant. It didn't have GUI or user interface experience, but it was up there. It was a hard show to sell, right? I'm trying to convince women to join my mission with a very thin website, with very thin content. But the minute I would say to women, hey, are you feeling invisible? Do you feel like there isn't enough information out there? I would get nods. I got hugged by a stranger, clearly pre-COVID, in a bar when I started to tell her what I was planning on doing. This is pre-launch. And she basically came up and said, oh my God, thank you. And can I hug you? I'm like, sure. I'm Latin, hugs are a dime a dozen where I grew up. So yeah, hug me. But I knew I was on the right path, right? And I also knew I was on the right path when all of these women, and I have to tell you, if I talked to 10 women, 9 of them basically said, yeah, I want to be part of it. I had no money to pay them. I had no, it was a big gamble for them, right? Everybody had their own brand. Everybody wanted to promote their own either their book or their own products or their own coaching services. And I couldn't really offer a huge pool of eyeballs, or I didn't have much to offer other than I have a mission. I'm committed to it. I promise I will work diligently and relentlessly to make it happen. And it worked. It worked. So don't underestimate the power of your vision. Don't underestimate the power of your drive and what you want to accomplish. Don't cheat other people from joining you by keeping that to yourself, because you just don't know. I now have 35 women experts who write on different subjects, and I have about 6 of them who are onboarding in the next 3 or 4 months. I don't pay them. They just believe. And I promise them that I will continue to work diligently to get them the visibility that they deserve, to get them the recognition that they deserve. But here's the deal. We all believe in the mission of normalizing aging. I want to normalize menopause. Menopause isn't weird. Every other person goes through it. Actually, more than every other person, because we outnumber them. But when I went through menopause, I had no idea what was going on. And I struggled. I don't want our younger sisters to struggle with the stuff that we're struggling with. I don't want our younger sisters to say, oh my God, should I not be feeling poorly that my kids are leaving for college? Should I just be okay with the fact that my parents are aging and my teenagers stealing the car all in the same day? I want our younger sisters to have something else to figure out when they get to this stage in life. I want to normalize aging, and I can't do it by myself. I need everyone to join. All of us need to do that. And we need to do it for ourselves now, but more importantly, we do need to gift that to our daughters if we have daughters. And that's basically what keeps me going every single day. That and the occasional card in the mail. I get cards in the mail on occasion. I think I've had 3 maybe in the last 2 years from a Cool Life member or a Cool Life expert that says, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for championing. Thank you for leading. Thank you for being empowering. And when I get one of those cards, well, of course I cry because, and I don't think of myself as a big crybaby, but I do. I cry, but it also re-energizes, makes me understand that I'm on the right path, that this is the path for me. Interestingly enough, I'm uniquely qualified to make Cool Life successful because I've had a myriad of jobs. I never thought I was particularly good at any one thing. I've had finance jobs, marketing jobs. I've been CEO of, fractional CEO of internet-based companies, just all sorts of weird jobs. And I thought to myself, God, I'm not an expert at anything. I'm not particularly great. I don't have deep domain expertise in any one particular area. Well, once again, for those of you who run your own business, you know that you have to do it all. You have to be the strategic thinker. You have to be the nuts and bolts person. Sometimes you have to do all the grunt work of I used to load all the content on the site. Oh my God, stick a sharp stick in my eye, right? Because how dull, but it still had to be done. And then I had to turn around and create a graphic. I'm not an artist, but interestingly enough, I am uniquely qualified to have done I've worn all the hats. So, don't underestimate what you've been through or judge all the experiences that you've had, because they uniquely comprise who you are today. And they help you take that next step, that next leap. So if I have to wrap up, and here's the thing, no mic, but because if you give me a mic, you have to wrench it from my dying, prying hands. So luckily Maria's like, hey, you don't have a mic. So that makes it a little easier for me. The greatest lesson that I've learned, and this has been a really hard lesson, and the universe has had to beat me over the head, and I'm not going to go into how the universe has beaten me over the head. I'll save that for some other time. But the greatest lesson that I've learned is that it's okay to ask for help. And collaboration is key. Yes, we all come by competition. Honestly, when we were younger, there was one seat at that table, two seats at that table for skirts. And if our butt wasn't in that seat, who was gonna get it? But here's the deal. We can build our own tables, have our own chairs. My table is full of women. I always have another seat at the table. There is always room at my table for anyone who wants to join. So collaboration over competition, and don't navigate alone. You're guaranteed to get lost. And that's all I have. I'm open to Q&A. There's 7 minutes left. Oh, 6. So I'm open to Q&A, or we can do Q&A later, Maria, if you would prefer. I'm game. I don't care.